Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Lord, as we gather tonight to grant the freedom of the borough to Lioness Alicia Rousseau, we remember all those individuals and organisations which bear the honour on our residents' behalf, for who they are and for their contributions made to our county town and community as citizens of the borough which we represent on this council. Remembering all those who give their energy and time, their gifting and skills throughout their lives constantly, we also honour the silent, who go unnoticed in their supreme care for loved ones and those in need. And so we pray, generous God, with our shared memories of the past and present, of joy, laughter, disappointment, grant that we may always trust in your presence. Be with us as we journey on through change and opportunity. Bless our homes and communities, making us worthy of each other's best, always trusting in your love. Amen.
Before we commence proceedings, may I take this opportunity to advise you that if a fire alarm does sound, please remain seated, and members of the Democratic Services team will assess the situation and give further instructions on the evacuation of the building if necessary. These proceedings will be webcast and recorded by the council, but will anyone else be recording or filming them? I simply ask to let people know if this will be happening. No? Okay, thank you. I've received apologies for absence from councillors Mrs Blackmore, Councillor Bryant, Mrs Grigg, Mrs Gooch, Mr Harper, Mrs Knatchbull, Mr Mortimer, Mr Montford, Mrs Reid, Mrs Robertson, Springett and Treblinski. Are there any other apologies?
Councillor Paul Wilby.
I believe Councillor Conyard gave his apologies.
A long list, so I might have missed it, but Councillors McKenna and Cook.
Thank you. Are there any other apologies? No. Are there any applications for dispensations?
Mr Mayor, there are no applications.
Thank you very much. Disclosures by members and officers. Are there any disclosures by members? Are there any disclosures by officers?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any disclosures of lobbying? No. Thank you. Is it agreed that the items on the agenda be taken in public as proposed? Thank you. Now, Mayor's announcement. I think we've got to pay some acknowledgement to the team of Maidstone United for their valiant effort, both with Ipswich and also against Coventry. It's all right, it's destiny. Thank you. Is it agreed that the items on the agenda be taken in public as proposed? I've done that one. Right. Right. There are no petitions this evening. I call upon Councillor Forecast to move his motion that Alicia Russo, as a person of distinction, be admitted to be an honorary freeman of the Borough of Maidstone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, everyone. As a Chelsea fan tonight, I am temporarily putting football rivalries aside, and I'm very pleased that you've all joined us. We have seen through Alicia and the Lionesses, and even more recently via Maidstone United, that football and sport don't just provide 90 minutes of entertainment, but provides our county town, our country, with unity and a real feel-good atmosphere. While Alicia has gone on to play for some of the world's biggest clubs, such as Manchester United and arguably Arsenal, it's her achievements with the England national team that makes her so worthy of freedom of the borough. Having been born and raised in Maidstone, Alicia has gone on to represent our country at professional level, winning the nation's first ever European Championships and last year being the second ever national team to reach a World Cup final. Two monumental achievements. In doing this, the Lionesses have defied the odds and broken down some of the historical and institutional barriers faced to women footballers, such as the 50-year ban on participation by the FA. Equally, the Lionesses and Alicia have demonstrated the very best of our country, showing that through cohesion and hard work, anything is possible, while inspiring a million of us, including the next generation of Lionesses, along the way. Last summer, I visited Palacewood Primary School in my ward and met their under-11 football team who had just won the National Trust Cup at Wembley Stadium. By supporting this motion tonight, everyone, we are saying to them and every single aspiring sports person in our borough that this council is behind them and your dreams. For several years now, Alicia has provided Maidstone and its people with enduring pride, and it's only right we recognise this evening. I'm proud to move this motion as per the papers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I call upon Councillor Hastie to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to second the motion to award Alicia the title of Honorary Freeman of the Borough of Maidstone. By giving this civic award, we recognise Alicia's contributions to women's football from those early days playing for her school, for West Farley and Bearsted football clubs, and on to playing for some of the most prestigious English football clubs and Arsenal, to her role in securing victory for the Lionesses at the European Championships and then a place in the Women's World Cup final. Alicia has filled Maidstone with enormous pride and has inspired many local women, girls and boys to play football. So it is only right that we should recognise her accomplishments and show our continuing support to women's sport by granting Alicia the freedom of her hometown. Thank you.
Councillor Hastie. I call upon Councillors Russell, English, no, Cox, S. Thompson, Cleater and Coates to support the motion. We'll start with Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my great pleasure as the Maidstone Borough Council Cabinet Member for Communities, Leisure and Arts to support the motion on behalf of the Conservative Group. We're all here this evening to congratulate Alicia for her amazing achievement through football and to thank her for her contribution to the sport. Sport changes lives and brings communities together, and we must never forget that one of our strategic priorities is health and well-being. There's no doubt that football fever has come to the borough in a huge way over the past few years. Thanks most recently to Maidstone United this week, but very much heralded by Alicia and her wonderful sporting achievements, including being one of the England Lionesses who won the final of the Women's European Championships in 2022. How brilliant is it that not only was Alicia born and bred here and attended East Farley and St Simon Stock schools in Maidstone, but also played for various teams across the borough, including Bearsted, and she is now very much leading the way for so many young people to follow. I was lucky enough to see her earlier today at Bearsted FC, where young girl footballers were overjoyed to meet her, even in the cold and rain with their legs shaking. They got to show off their football skills to her. They had the best day ever, and I'm sure it's one that will remain with them and inspire them for a long time to come. I heard from Alicia that a couple of them had even signed for Chelsea this week, so it just goes to show what a sporting legacy can do. I would like to wish her all the very best of luck for her future She's only 25. I'm sure there's much more to come for her story, and I do hope that the honorary freedom of the borough will help contribute to the legacy of the Lionesses' achievements and increase participation in sport, and particularly girls playing football at all levels.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor English.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Upon occasions, this council can be divided, we argue amongst ourselves. It is a pleasure, though, this evening, I think, to say that we're all pretty united around this chamber in celebrating one of the genuine heroines of Maidstone. On behalf of the Liberal Democrat group, I'm pleased to support the nomination of Alicia Russo as a Freeman of the Borough of Maidstone. It's a rather small and exalted list, really. We don't give away this honour very often. Perhaps not as often as we should, because there are many, many people in this borough who have contributed greatly. But what we see this evening is a relatively young person who still has a deal of her sporting career, one hopes, ahead of her, who has already achieved great things. As the England women's team shortly embark upon another round of European qualification tournaments, having had quite a success in the recent friendly matches, we can hope that there will be many, many more sporting achievements to see. And that the inspiration that has been given by Alessia and her teammates to not just young women and girls, but also young men and boys throughout this country to see the great achievements that can be made is inspirational, and I look forward to seeing more and more chapters in that history and that inspiration unfurling. It's a pleasure that we can stand here this evening and celebrate the advances that women are making, not just in sport, but in our country as a whole. And long may the Lionesses be at the forefront of the cultural change that we need to embrace. I heartily support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor English. Councillor Cox.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Earlier in the year, I was at a five-a-side football match, or tournament, should I say, over in Allington, where there were boys, girls from 18 right the way down to, I think, 5-year-olds playing. And it was atmospheric, it was energetic, and I think the neighbours are glad that it's only once a year. But the enthusiasm that is shown around many of the playing fields is due to watching people such as yourself on the television and even getting to see them at World Cups. I think many times it's more exciting to watch the ladies' game because it's much quicker. I don't know what the boys all do, just slouching around and running around. But so as a person who doesn't follow any football team, it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the independent group to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Now, Steve, Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alicia, it's been a while. Very nice to see old headmasters and heads of PE and big brothers and parents in the room. How wonderful and a great privilege to be here. And greetings and welcome and congratulations. We've had some heart searching in the room, wondering in our generation what contribution it takes to, as previous councillors pointed out, to confer a rare honour on one of our community. What indeed does a person's contribution need to be? What parents will ask themselves, do my children have to look forward to? What might their contribution be? And of course, there is no definitive answer to this question. We really don't need to worry about it. Our children will go onwards and upwards and aspire to great things. And some are quiet and secret, and some are more public and recognised. And we recognise what everyone has to bring. Doesn't only have to be in business, doesn't only have to be in this council chamber. So I ask people on the doorstep what they expect, as our councillor has pointed out, arts and culture is as much, if not more important to them than some of these other things on our balance sheets. Perhaps we're using the wrong balance sheet, indeed. Footy is quite important, I'm told, by some old chap from Liverpool. more important than life and death was what he's alleged to have said. I'm setting Councillor Cleater up for her remarks coming next, I feel. We might look for some comparisons, just to draw some lessons. We might wonder whether we need to wait for Adele to come along and find heart-searching lyrics to stir us as we listen to our music, or if we need J.K. Rowling to write us a new fantasy story in an area that has previously not been successfully inhabited by ladies, or for Emma Watson to act in her films and to set us an example in society. Or we might ask about Sarah Story or Kelly Holmes just down the road from here. Where does a person's contribution start and finish? We ask ourselves these questions. I note that Emma Watson provokes me to mention as UK Goodwill Ambassador, which she is, the He for She campaign, where men advocate for gender equality. These surely are excuses that we can use to celebrate ladies of distinction who help us to see what it is that folk can contribute to our society in the future. Although it's quite handy to be the first scorer in the Women's Super League, which I understand you did. I didn't know it at the time. I've read it somewhere. Serena told us that you made it look easy when you beat Austria with a couple of goals in a 7-2 drubbing, apparently, in front of 950 people in a very modest crowd. None of us get to choose the ceilings that we might break in the future, which ceilings it is that women might get to choose to break in the future. Our story, of course, Alicia, is a personal one. My daughter Caris sends her best regards to you and her congratulations. She chased you from a great distance across Moat Park on a muddy field when I was in a crowd of about 12, I seem to remember, a very, very long time ago. She reminds me that she was once, to use her phrase, looped into the football team to be one of those people who were yelled at from the sidelines, pass it to Les, which a great number of people have been doing ever since. Football, of course, is a team sport, and you will be the first, I'm sure, to point out that your success is as much a tribute to your colleagues and teammates as it is to anything that you've brought to the football pitch. Perhaps an important answer to the question is that you have given a gift to us, rather more so perhaps than we are giving you anything this evening. You have enriched our community, you are enriching our culture, and we are grateful for your contribution now. The beginning of, I'm sure, a very distinguished career and contributions in all sorts of places. Alicia, you are a daughter of our town and indeed a person of distinction, and I'm very happy to support the motion that you should become Honorary Freeman of the Borough of Maidstone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Now, Councillor Cleater, would you like to speak, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I and my group are very proud to support this motion. To underestimate the impact that the Lionesses have had on women and girls everywhere. I'm 66. I was one of that generation that was banned from playing football. We weren't allowed to play football at school. We weren't allowed to do anything. We got and looked at the game through the eyes, me standing on the Spine Cop, and that's why I'm very disappointed that Councillor Forecast didn't do the rap from World in Motion, but I can't have everything. But Alicia, the issue is for women's football that even now women are facing misogyny in public life. You only have to see the rantings of Joey Barton on Twitter and his comments about women footballers to know that this isn't something that just fell into your lap, this honour. This is something that you worked hard for, your family worked hard for. I'd love to say my 12 months experience of management in football at South Celtic under 12s, where we never actually won a match, was something I could bring to the table. But as all the Lionesses know, you sit on the shoulders of giants. Tara Proctor, Hope Powell, the great Lily Parr, who played for Dick Kerr's Ladies, and was one of the generation that was banned because women's football was too successful. And women contribute in life in many, many ways. And for women to succeed, you've got to see it to be it. And that is why, Alicia, you are a shining example to the women and girls of this borough, something to be proud of, someone who says, I will look at those lists of honorary freemen, most people will not know who many of them are, and say, someone like me is up there. And that is absolutely critical and important for this borough going forward. I'd love to say you play for a team that I like, but never mind. And I'm still traumatised by the 1971 Cup final when Arsenal beat us 2-1, and I won't hold that against you. But what I would say is, football is for the people. It's for the people who maybe don't have aspirations elsewhere. It's that one day of the week where we go forward, we can shout, we can sing, we can cry together, we can be happy together. And you've done something that not many people have managed to do in this building, which is to unite all the political parties. So for that alone, you deserve the freedom. But for me, it is very, very clear. You are going to be an inspiration for future generations. I wish you well in whatever your career holds. I wish you well in inspiring young people to take up football, to play football, to love the beautiful game, as those of us who are too old and too decrepit now and can only give our advice to Jurgen Klopp, not that he needs it, through the television. But you well deserve this honour, and my group is absolutely united in supporting this motion. Thank you.
It was a nice speech, Councillor Cleater. Very nice. Could I ask Councillor Coates if he'd like to speak, please?
Hello. I'm happy to support the motion on behalf of the Fant and Oakwood group. And well done on your 2 goals against Austria and your team's win. I hope you continue to enjoy your football and your future. Thank you.
No, done. Anybody else wish to speak? Councillor Webb, Councillor Harwood, and Councillor Wilkinson. Who's it?
Start with Councillor Webb.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Webb.
Thank you very much. I hadn't anticipated standing and talking tonight, but having spent 46 years in primary education and knowing the impact that you have had over the last 3-4 years for girls up to the age of 11 and beyond is significant. I mean, it's not just significant, it's revolutionary. And, you know, I'm old enough to remember the 1966 World Cup and Bobby Charlton scoring the goals that he did. And then I think on, and then I remember, you know, your back flick, playing, you know, that goal for England, and thinking, and the commentators did not know what to say. And the goal you scored in the semi-final to get England to the World Cup final was sensational. I'm going to have to say this, but I'm a Derby County supporter. Well, there aren't many of us about, don't you know? But if everybody else is telling the football team, I'm going to say mine, okay? And I genuinely wish you every success in the future. My dad was an Arsenal supporter, so I have to support you playing for Arsenal. But thank you very much, and it is a great honour to be here supporting you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I'd just like to welcome Alessia and her family and her guests today into the Town Hall. And I'd add that I've never been that fond of PE, either playing it or watching it, to be fair. And I did support a football team, Chelsea, but they turned evil, so I had to stop liking them as well. So it's all rather difficult, but I'm also quite anti-establishment in my outlook. And what I am struck by is that the way that the women's game was destroyed after World War I, when essentially it was as big as the man's game, and the Football Association, they disallowed referees from taking part in the game if they refereed at women's games. They stamped down on the grounds. All of the factories and the towns that have women's team were essentially deliberately stamped out, and that, I think, says something about the inspiration that you've given, because female members of my family, my female colleagues at work, they were genuinely excited by your links to our town, but also your exploits on the pitch. And I think it really has made a difference, and that's why you really do deserve freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Harwood. Do any other members? Oh, Councillor Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just thought I'd mention about the impact that Alessia and her associates have had at grassroots level in my ward at Staplehurst. We're very proud to have a youth football team which is 53 years old this year. I played as a junior. I played cup finals at the old London Road ground at Maidstone, which we won several of them, I might add. In those days, there was no girls' teams. It was just boys. And now, I'm very proud to say, we have 7 young ladies and girls' teams. We have Wildcats girls from the age of 5 to 12 who play throughout the summer. So the impact at grassroots level, giving all these girls their wish to be the next Alessia Russo, is absolutely wonderful. I'm slightly tinged with sadness because as a Republic of Ireland fan, it would have been useful if Alessia had been born in County Cork. But we are where we are. So I think she's a wonderful ambassador for her sport, and she's a wonderful ambassador for our borough. And I will certainly be supporting the motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alessia, it's lovely to see you and your family here and your friends. As an ex-footballer playing from the 80s, I appreciate how far the ladies' football has come in the last 20 years, last 40 years even. The sport is now mainstream. It's on television all over. You can just, it's called football. It's not women's football, it's football, and we can just watch it on television at any point. It's brilliant. And we can watch Alessia and her colleagues every week. Alessia, you really are a role model for girls progressing up through the sport. You show what can be done with determination and hard effort, and a wonderful centre forward. And we are so proud of you and the positive impact that you've made for so many. You've really put women's football on the map, and we're really, really thankful. And Stephen is right. It's you that's giving us a gift, not us giving you one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And would Tom Sams like to speak? Okay, fine. I thought I'd offer though. The Rose.
Alessia, a message from my niece, Jasmine Jones, who is doing very well with her football and loves it and really enjoys it, and you're a great inspiration to her. So thank you from her family and thank you from Jasmine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. Tom Cannon, please.
Thank you. Alessia, thank you for coming today. Growing up, my dad was a bit disappointed because I wasn't the footballer in the family, but my sister was playing for Castle Colts and in Allington, and she loved playing football. And I spoke to her before I came today, and she said she's now retired, but she's in her 30s, but she absolutely loves what you've done and the Lionesses have done for women's football. And I'm also happy I brought my neighbour Brooke, who is playing. I think she's playing in the under 11s, and she's aged 8. Is that correct? So I hope you get to meet her a bit later, and you know what you're doing to inspire young girls and women into football is fantastic, and it's just wonderful for our town. So I'm delighted to support the motion.
Thank you very much for that. Now, have we got anybody else that wishes to speak? Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't sure what to say, so I've written a poem to commemorate this occasion. Hopefully it's short and sweet. 3 lionesses on a shirt, a generation of girls dreaming, and there can be no better feeling than smashing that glass ceiling. Determination and dedication, vigour and vim. Don't let the doubters skim over what you have achieved. You believed and you did, no longer hid in the shadows. Now you shine for women in football, past and present. Now is your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Is there anybody else that hasn't spoken? No. Right, I'll now put the motion to the council. The motion must be passed by not less than 2/3 of the members voting. All those for? Oh. Thank you, members. That's unanimous. Right, having taken the vote that was unanimous, it's been agreed by the council to admit Alicia Rousseau as a person of distinction to be an honorary freeman of the Borough of Maidstone. And I now invite Alicia to come forward to join me and the Chief Executive to sign the roll of honorary freeman. I now call on the Chief Executive to read the Certificate of Honorary Freedom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and many congratulations, Alicia. So the certificate is from the Borough of Maidstone, and it's the Certificate of Honorary Freedom. Be it remembered that at an extraordinary meeting of the Maidstone Borough Council, held on the 29th day of February 2024, by vote of the Borough Council, it was resolved that pursuant to Section 249 of the Local Government Act 1972, Alessio Russo, as a person of distinction, be hereby admitted to be an honorary freeman of the Borough of Maidstone, and that is given under the seal of the Borough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll stand up for this. I beg to tender you the right hand of friendship as an honorary freeman of this borough, and present you the certificate of the honorary freedom of the borough. I now invite Alicia Russo to respond.
Thanks for everyone for having me tonight. My skills excel on the pitch and not so much in speaking. So no, I just wanted to say thanks very much. I really appreciate all your support, and my earliest memories of football started out in Maidstone at school and at my local teams, and grateful to have people here to support me from there tonight, along with my family. I'm a Maidstone girl through and through, and come back as much as I can. So yeah, I really appreciate it, and yeah, hopefully we can carry on inspiring the next generation of young girls coming through, and yeah, if we get the next superstar come out of Maidstone, then we've done our job. So yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Alicia. I declare the meeting closed and should be pleased if members and invited guests would join me and our new honorary freeman in the Beauvais room, which is across. Thank you very much.